I'd love to present our first presentation of the digital fronts. New Form's JC Cangilla. Come on out. Also, if you guys have any interest in socializing any of the conversation that's going to be taking place right now, you can use hashtag MIPTV.
Thank you all for coming today. Thank you, Jocelyn. I am JC Cangilla, the Chief Operating Officer at New Form. We're excited to be back at Cannes for our third year at MIPTV. A lot has happened in the last 3 years, aside from, as you can see, 3 different hairstyles. Today, let's take you through where we've been and what we're building. But first, some news. Late last year, we changed our name to reflect our success. New Form Digital, as you can see, is now New Form. Why make the change? We've simply outgrown the description of a digital studio. We're just getting bigger. Let me take you through how we got there. In 2015, I stood on this stage with our CEO, Kathleen Grace, to discuss the beginnings of a new kind of digital content studio. We explained our vision, we told you that we were focused on scripted series, and we revealed some early partners. We talked to you about our talent, and we took you through our development process. We were just starting out, but we knew we were onto something. So then, last year in 2016, we took you through our amazing initial successes. If you were here, you heard a very simple mantra. It was 30 pilots produced, 19 series sold, and 10 different distribution partners. We also shared our production process. We showed you some tape from 3 of our series that hadn't been seen outside the US, and we introduced you to some of our key talent. And now, in the last year, since 2016 MIPTV, we validated our position as the most digital, prolific scripted digital studio targeting millennials. We've defied industry expectations by premiering 16 series in the last 16 months. That's 16 series in the last 16 months. 5 of those series went to second windows internationally, and you've seen them in some of your regions. Some of our biggest news, we sold a straight-to-series order to TBS, a show called Final Space. You saw a clip in our opening reel. It's an animated comedy created by an up-and-coming social media star, Olin Rogers. This is a TV show, 10 22-minute episodes, a full-length linear TV series. And now we're in talks for more of those TV series. We'll have more announcements really soon. And then finally, late last year, some of our biggest news. In December of 2016, we took a big step forward at New Form. ITV, in partnership with Discovery Communications, led an $18 million financing round into New Form. We'll talk more about what that means here in just a moment. It's truly been an amazing 3 years. No longer a digital studio, for sure. So what's next? The TV landscape continues to change. There are people that come up on stage all day today and tomorrow to talk about those changes. We're really well situated for that change. Demand is very high for our series. Our series fit the runtime, the quality, and the genres of linear TV, what you guys are buying for. They can also be shared across multiple platforms, capturing the fleeting attention of the millennial viewers that you see in this chart, viewers that are highly mobile. But the real message today is that we are quality, scripted series, not short form. Expert short form producers exist. They produce fine content. You'll hear from them this week. Their videos are commented and liked and shared, and they do really great work. There's value in what they do, but that is not New Form. We are producers of scripted shows using industry standard practices. We set up professional writers' rooms. Our producers are typically award-winning TV producers. Our shows are headed by experienced showrunners. We shoot on location. We deliver in 4K. The difference here is that we're delivering in formats that are flexible for you and work on all of your platforms, whether it be digital or linear or mobile. And we'll be ready to meet all of your needs. We're announcing today that we're increasing our pipeline. We'll be releasing 40 pilots this year. That's 40 pilots. 40 pilots that will roll out at key times throughout the year. The next batch in just a few weeks. More to come on that. With the backing of ITV and new partners, we look forward to bringing these pilots to your territories. Today, we're very pleased to bring some partners onto stage to talk about the current landscape and to show clips from some of the series that we've distributed internationally. Paul, thanks so much for joining us today.
Pleasure.
Paul, we talk a lot at Newform about millennial audiences and where they're congregating, how they're consuming content. Can you talk a little bit about how ITV thinks about it?
Sure. Good afternoon, everyone. I think everybody is obsessed with millennials, whether you're a media owner, whether you're a brand, whether you're a producer. And I think sometimes it's important to take a step backwards. We did that a few years ago at ITV, and we came up with a very simple strategy that a view is a view and a screen is a screen. And what that means is basically that we need to be increasingly agnostic about when and how people are watching our shows, whether they're watching on a mobile phone, whether they're watching on a television, whether they're watching it live in the moment or a few hours later. As long as we are measuring it and as long as we are serving advertising, which is our business model, we don't mind because people are spending more time with us. So the ITV Hub, our relaunched on-demand service, was kind of born out of that. And it's going pretty well. We've got about 18 million registered users. But I think the more interesting statistic is that 50% of all 16 to 24-year-olds in the UK are registered on the service. And I think that point is really interesting because in one go, it kind of dismisses that very lazy observation that many people make around young people don't watch TV anymore. They absolutely do. And some of the biggest things in their lives continue to be The Voice, The X Factor, Saturday Night Takeaway. But when we do make shows for young people, I think it's not, on our ITV2 network especially, I think it's important that we don't obsess about them, we don't obsess about the business model, we don't obsess about the distribution mechanism. We just focus on making great shows. Very obvious observation to make, but there's a show like Love Island, which ITV produces, big show over the summer. About half of that viewing happens on the ITV Hub, about half of it happens on linear viewing, and then we capture millions of views on YouTube and on different social platforms like that. Each of those business models monetized, and I think what I've always loved about Newform, right from and you, not just your hair, is that when we first met you and Kathleen, you were so clear that you were trying to make just shows for young people. It wasn't about whether it was on a mobile phone. It wasn't whether it was on this device. It wasn't obsessing about the business model. And I think that is, you have to take that approach. Good shows, great shows will work everywhere. The audience don't think this way. They don't think, oh, this show is made for me because I'm watching it on a mobile. They just think great shows, and we have to be agnostic.
I think that's so well said, and certainly something that we think about a lot at Newform is, where are the viewers and how can we make the best shows for those viewers? Right. When I think about the Hub, I'm so excited about kind of the experimentation that you're doing. Yeah. I'm so excited about that there are potential other buyers in other markets. You've got a crowd full of producers out there that want me to ask the question, how do you think about original programming vis-a-vis the Hub versus some of kind of your linear networks?
Sure, and I think it's important to say, as an investor in Newform, we wear two hats at ITV. We wear the hat of a broadcaster, and we also wear the hat of an international production business. We are wearing more of the latter hat when we invest in you guys, so we are very agnostic and happy when you sell to other broadcasters and other platforms. I guess what's different about a broadcaster OTT service is that in many ways we're not short of content. There's about 20-25 hours of it being delivered every single day, and that, of course, what makes us so distinct from a Netflix or an Amazon who might update their films or their catalogue once a week or once a month. So the biggest opportunity still for most broadcaster OTT services is to make sure that the content gets there as quickly as possible. I mean, as I said, we have 18 million registered users. We spend about £1 billion in content every year. The opportunity with OTT is to combine those two things and to make sure there is an ITV for everyone. So through things like personalization and things like that. In terms of original content, we are definitely heading in that direction. I think in the beginning, most broadcaster OTT services were purely about catch-up. Mm-hmm. They were a safety net. If you missed a program, don't worry, relax. You can access it and catch up on it later on. We've moved it forward quite a lot since then. Ironically, the most interesting thing we've done on the ITV Hub, and it's kind of a retro thing, was to make live TV at the very heart of the proposition. And that was that is, of course, again, is what makes us special and unique. And now since we've launched that a couple of years ago, over 30% of all users on the hub are just watching TV. They're just watching live TV in different rooms. So we are moving forward away from that, though. We do a lot of our exclusivity is around windowing and premiering. So we'll put dramas on before they go on the main linear network. But now we reach a point where we're about 5% of total viewing. Oh, wow. So we are a channel. We're 5% of total viewing of ITV, and that's getting bigger as we go along. About 10% of drama, about 40% of youth shows people are watching on the hub. So we are definitely heading in that direction. I guess we've done some interesting partnerships with a company called Awesomeness TV. And what was interesting about that was we didn't just buy it for our OTT platform, we bought it for TV and OTT together. Yeah. And I think that'll be the interesting dynamic. Again, buy for all platforms, buy for all your audiences, and then worry about the distribution mechanisms later on.
We completely agree. We look forward to putting some of our programming up on the hub here later in the year.
Great.
Paul, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Please welcome Sebastian Burkhardt from Keshet International. Keshet, Sebastian, thanks for joining me today. We're so excited to be partners with Keshet on a few of our projects, including Miss 2059. Can you talk a little bit about content, both in formats and in types that play in an international marketplace?
Yeah, absolutely. I think first to also why I'm here. So we distribute some of your shows that we're very happy to kind of represent internationally. And for us as a traditional, I would say, producer, distributor of premium content, both scripted and unscripted, we're always on the lookout for good storytelling, new concepts. And I think that's really what brought us together when we started this partnership with Newform. We were just very interested in the type of content that was being made. I think your name change speaks for itself, transitioning from Newform Digital to just calling it Newform, and that really encapsulates just a new form of storytelling, really. And for us as a distribution company, in particular, active in the international market, distributing high-profile dramas, comedies, scripted shows in general, and unscripted properties too, we just looked at what was coming out and thought those are properties that we would like to get involved with because they naturally fit in our distribution portfolio alongside our other, I would say, traditional linear TV properties. We're taking out, at this market, for example, a big comedy that we're doing for Channel 4 and AMC, and shows such as Miss 2059 or Mr. Student Body President or Cold, they have that strength to kind of stand in that market by themselves because they speak, the quality speaks for itself.
We appreciate that. And Keshet has been such a good partner in taking these properties out. When you think about kind of your properties that you represent, some TV side, some in this kind of new digital fashion, are there obvious ties between the two, or are there things that really kind of stand out when you look at a property?
I think as a starting point for us, we just look at it from a what's the quality of the content, both, as I said, in terms of storytelling and the actual concept. We, in general, felt obviously we're living in a moment where there's a lot of disruption in the market, a lot of linear broadcasts are challenged in terms of with their business models, also their content. We see a lot of young audiences, millennial audiences, migrating into the OTT space, and also being a broadcaster and operating a lot of digital assets in Israel, we have a good understanding of that, like where the market is shifting to, and we felt there. We wanted to have content that was very clear on its demo. And I think having that type of content that is so laser sharp, going after millennial audiences, both in terms of the stories, the talent on screen and off screen, like that was just very appealing to us. The format, the particular shows that we distribute on behalf of Newform tend to be slightly in the short form, mid form range, so not your traditional TV formats. But we felt there was There was a change in the global market. There were new OTT opportunities kind of outside the US also popping up. So that's something that we wanted to be part of. And ultimately, I think, in particular, if one looks at a show like Mr. Student Body President, which we sold to O4 in the UK, Gaul 90 in the US has commissioned another 3 series. So we're reaching that volume point where you feel you can also repackage those shows into traditional half hours. So we felt there was just pieces of content that were very versatile, that we felt that we can exploit in a lot of different ways, like internationally, like through our distribution windows.
I know, I think it makes a ton of sense. We're so excited about the partnership. We're excited about some news that I think we'll have a little bit later in the show. And so thank you so much.
Pleasure.
Thanks for coming out. Let me welcome to the stage the EVP and Global Creative Director of Studios, Brendan Gaul. Brendan, thanks so much for coming out. Really appreciate it. As you know, we're in the business of branded entertainment, and Newform's doing quite a bit in that space. We worked together on a project for Johnson & Johnson and Tylenol. Can you talk about one, how that project kind of came together, but more broadly, how you think about the difference between some of the projects that Newform is doing versus a kind of a traditional 30-second spot?
Sure. Yeah, first, I just wanted to say thank you for the great work that we did together. We, at Studios and at the brand Johnson & Johnson are just so proud of the overall quality of the work. You know, the way that you were able to help bring authentic storytellers to the brand proposition and really pay it off with content that people loved. So, you know, I think when you look at what advertising agencies are doing and then how brands play in the content space, there needs to be a compatible relationship. You know, on the Tylenol brand in particular, their platform and their tagline is for what matters most. And when you ask consumers what matters most, it's around health and it's around family. And they're already playing very strongly in the health space. When we discovered that insight around family, then we started having conversations with Kathleen and yourself about how we could tell these meaningful stories about different kinds of families and really show what does matter most for this brand. We're
running low on time, but do you think that brands are more invested in this brand entertainment content moving forward?
Absolutely. You know, we get tons of calls from all the brands that we represent, you know, wanting to have deep conversations, not only about content this year, but what a content strategy and plan could look like in, you know, 3 to 5 years. We're working on some projects right now where the brands are developing content with TV networks, and that IP can travel with the brand into second windows and beyond.
No, it's terribly exciting. We look forward to doing more work with you guys in the future.
Us too.
Thanks so much for coming out.
Thank you.
My final piece of news, thank you, Brendan. It wouldn't be a showcase if we didn't have more stuff to show. We're running low on time, but I really hope you've enjoyed our presentation. Thank you all for coming out. We really appreciate it. Thank you.